Hey everyone, I'm back with another project. This one was a little fun because it involved 3D printing, and anything that I can 3D print is always something that I look forward to. So what I ended up getting was this Dometic water faucet, which is really cool. There's probably a ton of videos of these on YouTube, on the internet already, so I won't go into too much detail, but the highlights are it's got a built-in pump with a built-in battery, and it just dispenses water super easy, super convenient. So you just tap on the top, water comes out. It's got a little light, and this also has a magnetic base, but I have the Ford, so there's no aluminum body, but it comes with these little discs so that you can add an actual metal surface to any surface, really, just peels and sticks. So anyways, I like this setup, but I have always used the Scepter water cans, and so these, I've had these for years. In fact, if you look at my very first YouTube video on this channel, it's this Scepter water can with a similar plug, I guess, and going into the water heater. So I made a bunch of changes, and we'll go into the details of this lid and what it consists of. But the overall effect is you basically have your water faucet. This guy plugs, whoops. So that guy plugs into the top. This guy goes down there, and it's just that setup. It's that simple. So you press the button. That. So it just takes a second to prime. Once it primes, you have water. So tap off, tap twice to turn on, and that's it. So super easy water setup with the Scepter can. And so of course we have all of this integrated, and we'll go over the details. But I'll take it off really quick just to show you. So this guy just pops right off like that. Might take a little bit of muscle to get off. I'm going to put you guys right there so you guys can take a look at this. So there we go. So from there I have this water pickup, and what's cool is one of the things is I had a friend of mine suggest putting a one-way a check valve down here, so this would always stay full, so when you decide you want to prime. But I found out that because this is a valved fitting, no water comes out. So watch, if I press the actual valve fitting, it empties out just like that. So so I might not even need a check valve there. And how this works is I machined this brass. I'll go over it all of this in detail in a sec. And so this acts as the weight, sort of like that, to pick up the water. And that's it. So the whole thing is 3D printed. Even the little the aerator tube, or the aerator bolt, I should say, the venting bolt. So yeah, and there's a gasket on the inside to keep everything nice and watertight. Drops right in. And of course I got the lid nice and tight so it doesn't spill. And then the added benefit is it does not leak. So as you can see, you could put it down. If your pump goes out, you could still use it sort of as a gravity feed system if you put the little hose in there. So anyway, that's the setup. See, we'll prime this guy up again just to show it off. And there it is, priming again. But yeah, so I'll go over the details of this guy in just a sec on how I designed it, why I designed it a certain way, and yeah, we'll get into that. Right, so I'm going to break down really quickly the design process that went into creating these caps. So this is the Scepter can, and it's also the MCI can cap, and it's where everything really starts. So it's very basic. It's got a vent bolt here. So let me see if you guys can see that. So it's got the little venting hole. You open that up, and that also it controls the flow. So the more air that comes in, the faster the water comes out through the spout here. It also has threads on the outside for a cap, but you can also thread on a little spout that I have, and it works great. The only drawback with that is that you have to tilt the can up so that the water kind of feeds out with gravity. So if you like tucking this in a spot, you'd have to unmount it, tip it over, and do that whole process, which works really well because there's no batteries, there's just nothing to break. It's just very self-contained. And also this works without the spout. You just open this up. The downside is you usually end up using more water than you need, so you're wasting it. And if you're trying to conserve water, that's the challenge. If you look way back into my first YouTube video ever, I had a similar setup that looks like this. I had the 5-gallon can with this quick connect, and then this was hooked up to a Zodi water heater, and that was my first attempt. And I so happened to use 5 years ago the same fitting that the Dometic faucet uses, so that was great. But some drawbacks with the system is I had to thread the inside of this so that I could thread in this reducer, and then I also had to TIG weld some barbs so that I can connect the hose. And then at the end of the hose, I added this stainless steel spacer to act as a weight to hold this towards the bottom of the tank so it could pick up water. Now, the drawback to this is that if the tank falls and tips over, the 5-gallon ones are heavy and tall, this could potentially break off and then cause some issues. Sort of rendering this cap useless in a way. So that was something that I wanted to get away from. Plus, if that does happen and this breaks, then you'd have to basically take this off to make the jug usable again. So that's how this whole process got started after I got into the Dometic faucet, and I wanted something cleaner, something way more versatile. So then I thought, well, why don't we just take a new lid and we put the hole on the side and put the fitting there? And again, not super clean and elegant. And I'm like, well, I think we could probably do better. So then I decided to 3D print a cap and see how far we can go with that. So this was the first iteration right here. What's cool about this is that it holds the fitting flush, flush with the surface. So if it tips over, if anything happens, there's nothing to shear off. Protects that. So this was the first attempt. Now, one of the things I didn't like was this part, because the part is printed like this on the print surface, so it prints up. It prints this sort of in the open air, so the surface finish of this is not ideal because it's bridging from one point to the other. So I was trying to find a solution for that, and my sort of non-elegant solution was to just add a little filler piece right there. So this was revision number 2, just kind of like putting a filler piece in black and also changing the color to blue because it's a water jug. It's kind of obvious. I also added some more material here to sort of cover around the fitting to fit a little bit snug and add some side protection so you don't get really, so you don't get stuff in between there. Revision 2, but the drawback here was everything looks great, plenty of room to stick your finger in here to release the valve. The problem was that it does not have a vent bolt to let air out of the tank, and that would alleviate some of the pressure on the pump as it's working. So then this is vent bolt version and revision number 3. So we 3D printed, or I 3D printed, I should say, decided to 3D print this little connector. And what I didn't like about it was that, the edges here were a little too sharp because they're a little flared out just because of the squish on the surface. I know I could probably adjust so I don't have that, but I just have a little extra squish to promote adhesion on the bed. But you can see it's a fully 3D printed bolt. And then the other sort of negative with this design is it's hard to access the bolt. So you can barely sort of stick your fingers in there. And if your fingers are bigger than mine, you're probably gonna have more trouble, or if you're wearing gloves or something. So then, we had to do another revision and figure that out. Plus, at this point too, I was sort of playing around with 3D printed gasket. Haven't really, I didn't go too far with that, so I ordered some from McMaster to seal this off. So then this is the next revision. So what we did here, or I keep saying we, but like just talking about myself in third person or multiple person, yeah, whatever. Anyways, I added a bevel to this so that you can stick your fingers in here and really be able to get around. That was pretty much it. So what we introduced, not in this revision, you can still kind of see, I don't know if the camera will catch it, but this part down here is smooth. So then we had to add a gasket, and what I ended up doing on the final revision here was just adding a little groove to put the gasket in there and to sort of capture it. So we did that, and this is what the final version looks like. Plenty of room in there. So this is what we ended up with on the final go. This is for a 2.5 gallon Scepter can. That's why this silicone hose is short. So we added a new bolt. And with this one, we added a groove so that we have an O-ring to help seal. We changed the dimension out here so it's kind of smoother on your fingers. We added a new beauty plate, for lack of a better word, to put there to kind of hide the bridging a little bit. And then we added that thicker gasket that's recessed in that groove. Then we have our bulkhead fitting, of course, which I added a little bit of sealant just to make sure it's nice and watertight, and you can still access that. Now, one of the things I machined here to replace that stainless steel bearing from before was this brass fitting. And so this was my first time, making something like this with barbs and stuff like that. So it's drilled all the way through, but it's got this angle. So when it sits at the bottom of the tank, it sits like this. And so the pickup opening is a lot closer to the bottom, which will hopefully allow you to absorb more water versus if it was half an inch, you'd be sitting this high. So that's sort of how this works. It just kind of lays in there like that. So this is the final piece. Let me know what you guys think. Pros, cons. Do you guys like it? You think it's too much to 3D print a cap? And if you guys are interested, I might even start producing this without the without this brass weight, because these are kind of time consuming to make. But if y'all want some of these caps, let me know in the comments, or just give me your thoughts in general. But this was a fun project. I really had fun, and it's always good when I get to 3D print something and figure that out. So thanks again. Thanks for jumping in on the channel, and I'll see you next time.